So that was the preview of Elon Musk and, well, Elon Musk's Crash Course. It's a presentation by the New York Times on Hulu. This is season 2, episode 1. So it's not exactly a movie, it's a regular show that they, I guess, broadcast. Doing a special, interesting thing and no driving gloves here tonight. It's just me. No Derek, no Will. I watched this movie, and of course, we talk a lot about Tesla, and I get criticized a lot that, I'm a Tesla fanboy and, Elon Musk this and Elon Musk that. Well, I do like Tesla. There's no doubt about that. They're an interesting company. Elon has his ways, his things. But what I thought I would do is touch a little bit on kind of, I don't know, my thoughts on the show or the movie, but the, what do I want to say? Let's see here. I guess it's a little bit, I'm going to do a little bit of history of Tesla, how we get to this. We're going to talk a little bit about the movie. I'm not discounting the entire movie. I'm not saying it's completely right. I'm not saying it's completely wrong. I just want to get on this. The movie came out May 20th. If you subscribe to Hulu, you can check it out. If you don't, go ahead, go to hulu.com. They'll give you 30 days, etc. Not getting sponsored or anything by Hulu. That's just happens to be where I guess things happen to be. So let's see here. Got a couple of little notes, going through this. So we're talking the movie Elon Musk's Crash Test, produced by the New York Times. Kind of doing a little bit, let's do a little bit of history about Tesla and how we get to this movie and potentially these problems. And much to many surprise, Elon Musk did not found Tesla. Tesla was founded by Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. I believe I'm saying those right, in 2003. Musk basically stepped in as the primary investor in their Series A funding, invested $6.8 million, and it kind of made him the largest shareholder and kind of gave him a controlling interest in Tesla. Over the next 2 years, Musk continued to invest through Series B and Series 3 funding. And by the end of that, in 2008, he had actually become the CEO of Tesla. And basically, it was his company. I can't remember. I think he owns about 17 million shares right now or so. Immediately after he became CEO, Eberhard was quickly removed. Resulted in a lawsuit, which has since been settled, and Eberhard seems to speak okay of Tesla. And Tarpenning, he exited just early in the development of the Model S, which probably would have been 2011-ish. So the original founders have exited the company. They probably were compensated fairly well, in my opinion. They went on to, after, let's see here, really, the Roadster was the first car from Tesla. Not the Roadster we saw at the Cybertruck debut, but the Roadster, which was based on the Lotus Elise. The body was massaged a little bit. I think it was a really well-done car and potentially even had some quality above and beyond what Lotus had. My opinion, and checking out Tesla Roadsters and that, they did have a larger trunk than the Lotus Elise. Heck, you could put golf clubs in the trunk of the Tesla Roadsters. And that launched in about 2008, 2009. And basically, it was kind of a proof of concept car. It came out. It was well accepted. It proved that electric cars were usable, could be quality built, could demand a premium price. Basically, it was proving that Teslas or electric cars were well beyond, if you remember the little wedge-shaped triangular things of the mid-70s called the City Electrics. That's kind of one of the most popular electric cars, I think, in history. It's what I always thought of when I thought of electric cars. And also keep in mind, by 2008, 2009, while they're not fully electric, Toyota had been successfully selling the Prius for over a decade. Honda, I believe, put the CRZ on the market in 03, 04-ish, maybe 02, and marketed it until, I can't remember if it was 12 or 15 or so. So those are hybrids. And, using battery technology and basically kind of gasoline motors to assist. And of course, the Chevrolet Volt was in production because it came out in 2011, 2012. And it was an electric car that just happened to carry its generator with it. Everything about the Volt says that the Volt was never powered by that gasoline motor it carried. That gasoline motor was there to charge the electric batteries when they needed charged, and the car continually ran on electricity, period. Which I looked at a Volt many years ago and really liked them, and it's because of the range anxiety in that I liked the Volt. I think it was a good transition too. But by 2012, the Roadster production had kind of faded away, and the Model S was launched. The Model S basically put Tesla on the map and basically put electric cars on the map for, where we got to today. If it wasn't for the Model S, I don't think we would have the electric car boom we do now. Fisker came out with their Karma about the same period in time, electric with onboard generator, things like that. And obviously it failed quickly. There's been a couple of other pop-ups that kind of did electric, but Tesla put them on the map. I mean, there are, like I said, other companies in that, but we all know Tesla. Tesla, has become this automotive production powerhouse. And while the Model S has now been on sale for over 10 years, it's been tweaked with some exterior styling changes, some interior improvements. And obviously the technology is kind of continuously updated. There's a lot of controversy on how long Tesla actually supports their cars. There's always controversy about getting parts and things if you don't go through the Tesla dealer network or your car's out of warranty, things like that. But so we had the S. 15 brought us the Model X SUV with its overly complicated rear gull-wing doors. 17 introduced the Model 3 sedan, which is now the best-selling electric car in history, with over 1 million units delivered and quickly approaching 2 million. And that's delivered worldwide, not just in the US. And then finally, we completed Elon's sexy lineup, S3XY. I can't remember, but somebody had the E trademark, so that's why we got Model 3 instead of Model E. But he always wanted this sexy lineup. The Model Y was introduced in 2020. And while I've never touched a Model Y, my understanding is it basically is the Model X with normal rear doors and a little bit lower roofline. Now, of course, during this time, Tesla also sold a flamethrower. Kind of a neat little thing. I think they were $800, and they weren't called a flamethrower. I can't remember what the name was because you can't ship a flamethrower UPS, but whatever they called them, you could. But it was effectively a flamethrower for about $800. They introduced and took deposits on the Cybertruck and the second generation Roadster. And this kind of goes along with some things that I've said previously on No Driving Gloves about Tesla, is they kind of come up with these little things to create a quick infusion of cash. I mean, it's minuscule cash when you're thinking a $1 trillion company and billions of dollars, but they introduced a flamethrower, earned them a couple $1 million, took deposits on the Cybertruck, earned them a couple $1 million, took deposits on the second generation Roadster, earned them a couple $1 million. However, then they just disappear. The flamethrowers were delivered. The truck and the Roadster, where are they? Nobody's heard from them. They've hardly said anything about the Roadster. The Cybertruck stays in the news because of Rivian and the Ford Lightning and the new electric truck from General Motors. So there's competition for it. Super expensive, high performance electric sports cars, with the Agiva by Lotus, and you're looking at some of that stuff coming out from the exotics, maybe the Roadster will start getting mentioned again. But as of 2022, they're still mentioned on the website, but any predicted introductory dates and that have been removed. As recently as last winter, you could get on the website and it was saying that the Cybertruck and the Roadsters were due late 2022. That's been removed, and Musk has recently come out and stated that no new products will be launched in 2022. And then, of course, the news runs with it, and all of a sudden, all this stuff pops up about this little compact car. I don't even remember a compact car, a kind of this smaller Model 3 with a lower price point. That's what the press is running with, not the fact that these other things were introduced in 2019, 2020, and there's been no headway, no mention. Really, we haven't even seen prototypes on the road. Now, I'll give him the Roadster might take a little bit longer because Musk has come out with this crazy idea to aid in the acceleration of the Tesla Roadster, putting SpaceX technology in it and putting little rocket boosters on the side so that when you go to do a launch control takeoff run, I guess, these little rockets will come on and you'll have rocket propulsion in addition to your electric motors, which I don't understand how it works when you haven't driven wheels, and then additional thrust from that are not driving the wheels. I mean, if the wheels just spun without any drive, the rockets would make sense. But you can't force something to go faster than what the motors and the mechanicals are letting the wheels spin. And basically the rockets would then cause the wheels to spin, but basically skid the car across the ground. So I don't know. But again, this kind of goes back to the movie Elon Musk's Crash Course, and that Elon says a lot of things that make sense in Elon's head, that Elon wants to see, but maybe are not viable in the world. I don't knock him too much for that. I mean, great visionaries have some crazy ideas, and if you put it out in public, maybe it forces the engineering team to develop and make technology, or I guess make the technicians, it puts them under a gun that, hey, we said this in public, we need to make it work. Now, as the movie points out, we're 2 years away from full autonomous driving. And we'll get into full autonomous driving a little bit later this episode. But we've been 2 years away from full autonomous driving since, I think, and in the clip that I opened the show with, which hopefully can remain, I'm not sure if I violated copyright, but we're talking about the movie and critiquing the movie. So I think it was legal for me to play that. But I think in the clip, in 2014, we were 2 years away from full autonomous driving. And by 2020, it would be full. You could get into your car, tell it where you were going, you go to sleep, and your car would get there. I don't believe we can do that right now. Then, of course, over the new years, additional tech has popped up in, Teslas, which have been kind of cool and keeps them in the news. The cars can fart. And they get in trouble for that. They can actually dance to various songs, moving the doors, flashing their lights, and possibly adjusting their suspensions. They do a Christmas light show. They can be summoned, which is kind of cool and kind of full autonomous. As you get out your phone app, you tell the car to come to you, and the car will pull itself out of its parking spot or back itself out of the garage and come to, I believe, where you're standing with your phone. I've never summoned one. I've seen it done a couple of times, and it's usually the gentleman pushes the button, the car drives itself up to him, pulls out of the parking spot, and it's a neat little feature. I can see where it would be really handy, but you've still got to, I believe, park the car and walk to your destination. You just don't have to walk from your destination back to the car. So summoning's cool, but summoning potentially has its limitations. And then, of course, the whole premise of Elon Musk Crash Course are the, quote, self-driving, unquote, or, quote, autopilot features that Tesla sells you. And it's about $10,000 to get full autopilot mode available on your Tesla. And I'm not going to get into too deep on LiDAR and radar and cameras and 6 cameras or 8 cameras and the technologies that each manufacturer is using and what Tesla is using and not using. The movie really explains that. Now, again, you can get that on Hulu. If you're a Hulu subscriber, just search for it. If you watch your stuff through Chromecast like I do, I think it's on the feature menu right now. And if you're not a Hulu subscriber, you can subscribe to Hulu, test it out for, I don't know if it's 7 days for free or 30 days for free, but more than enough time that you could watch this movie and provide us a little bit of feedback here. Again, this is a pre-recorded episode. I'll apologize for that, but schedules the way they are, and I wanted to get this out and be sure it got out this week. But like I said, go into the movie, and they're going to explain a lot more about the self-driving than me. I believe what they explain about the self-driving in the movie is fairly accurate, how it works, how it functions, how it may or may not function, and how it's being pushed. But when we get into this autopilot, there's a couple of little things that I agree with and I disagree with. But my statements, my opinion, I'm not even going to say no driving gloves opinion to take Will and Derek out of it. As a matter of fact, they don't even know I'm doing this episode. So this is strictly all my opinions through no driving gloves. The owners, the owners are doing things with the cars that they have actually been instructed not to do, that they've been warned that you should not operate autopilot on anything other than a 4-lane divided highway. The owners have come up with, and they openly discuss in forums on how to trick safety systems that Tesla's designed to help protect the drivers from. They've got little worm things you can put on the steering wheel, so the steering wheel thinks you're touching the steering wheel. Because I'm not sure what the time is now. Whether Tesla lets you let go of the steering wheel for 3 minutes or 6 minutes, or even the movie didn't quite clarify it, but it seems they've tightened up that time that you can touch and not touch the steering wheel and stay engaged with the car. But they come up with these various technologies. Tesla, as far as I know, always tells you that somebody needs to be in the driver's seat. And we can go to dozens and dozens of YouTube videos where people are in the car filming from the back seat, from the front seat, and obviously not in the driver's seat, not able to take over the car in a panic situation, which I know was made clear to them. So I'm going to blame some of this on the owners. And they obviously, the owners again, are using the technology in areas they know the tech was not designed to operate. 2-lane roads, 4-lane roads with cross traffic. I have seen them do it in their neighborhoods. Places that the technology has not been advanced to. But again, Tesla's selling you one thing and calling it one thing, and it's really not that one thing. And that'll come into the autonomous driving discussion a little later in the episode. I do believe, kind of as the movie points out too, Tesla can and should install GPS cutouts in the car. For example, when the car is being operated on a street that they're telling you autopilot is not designed to work on, i.e. anything other than an interstate highway or a 4-lane highway without cross traffic, that's where it's been designed to operate. General Motors can do it with their Deluxe Cruise, and we'll get into some of the manufacturers and kind of what they have for, quote, I don't want to call it their autopilot systems, but they're systems that are as advanced as General Motors and Audi and Ford and various other manufacturers can go. And while Tesla's valued at $1 billion, 9 times what there are, what is it? Valued at $1 billion, which their next 9 competitors have to combine their valuations to reach $1 billion. There's history. There's decades and decades of experience, because self-driving's been played with since the 50s. It's probably been thought about longer than that. I wish I should have checked with Derek. He could have told me when we kind of probably had the first self-driving. I mean, look at 1982 and Knight Rider. There's a self-driving car for you that also talked to you. I assume Teslas can talk. I don't know. And then, the reason why I'm saying you can use this GPS fencing for the car is there are some sports cars now that have GPS fencing that when you enter a racetrack and basically enter the pit area of a racetrack, it provides you additional tuning or suspension setups or driving modes for the racetrack only. And when you leave the track, those settings go away. So you can fairly easily, I guess, create geofencing. But again, it's more data, more things that has to be programmed into the car, transmitted to the car, untransmitted to the car. And I also feel Tesla should rename the system. I don't know what you rename it to, but, Tesla driver assist, Tesla assisted guidance, something like that. But autopilot, when I put something on autopilot, if I'm in an airplane, provided I was a pilot, I expect the plane to virtually fly itself. But guess what? You still have to have a pilot in the cockpit. I mean, at least paying attention to what's going on. The autopilot handles a lot of things. And I mean, heck, I think planes even land themselves now with autopilot. But that's not where these systems are. Planes also don't have to worry about cross traffic really on landing. They have air traffic controllers to tell them, aid in additional traffic monitoring. There's not a lot of congestion per se as you do on the highways with airplanes. And also everybody in an airplane up there flying it in the air is extensively trained. And it's not the fast food drive-through of the DMV, go through, pass a test, get a driver's license until the day you die and never have to take another test and not really be educated. I was taught to parallel park in driver's ed because the two girls in driver's ed with me were constantly absent. And the guy, he basically gave me my test, didn't tell me. And then after the test, he had me parallel park because he thought I should at least do it once before he passed me, even though I had effectively passed at that point. And I think my driver's ed was 9 weeks, and I think I passed it in 4 because, like I said, the other two girls in the car in the beginning just never showed up. And then one of them broke their leg skiing, so they just stopped coming. So I was able to complete my driver's ed fairly fast. But again, it goes back to, we don't teach driving seriously, especially the way we teach pilots to fly. And there's a thing with the autopilot flying that the operators are still much more responsible and much better trained than, what do I want to say, the everyday driver. Of course, that's what I want to say. But that's quickly my summary of kind of a progression of Tesla, how the cars went, where the technology went. The movie gets into a lot more. The show gets into a lot more. I mean, allow yourself about 2 hours to watch it, especially if you don't have the non-commercial level edition of Hulu. But what is autonomous driving? It's talked about all the time. So let's tell you what autonomous driving is. They offer 6 levels, or they classify 6 levels of autonomous driving. Ironically, they start at level 0 and go through 5. So you only think there's 5, but there's actually 6. Level 0, no automation. The human does everything. Steers the wheels, activates the brake, accelerates, maneuvers traffic. We all do that. All of us do it in our cars. Most cars do it. If you have anything 10 years or older, you definitely have a level 0, no automation car. If you have something a little bit more modern, you probably do have a level 1 autonomous car, which adds driver assistance. So under various conditions, the car may control your steering. It may control the speed. not both simultaneously. I kind of disagree with that. The rental car I had while my Mini was in the shop, I still think is a level 1, but you could set the cruise control, you could set the lane keeping assistance, and the car would keep it in its lane and keep the speed. You could just rest your hand on the steering wheel and it basically would keep itself in place. If you took your hand off the steering wheel more than 10 seconds, the car would beep and you'd have to put it back. So far from autonomous. But if you were on the interstate, or be honest, most roadways, 2-lane highways, divided cross traffic highways, interstate, you could turn on the cruise control and it would do a fairly good job of keeping you centered in the lane, using the proximity sensors on the car to keep your distance from the cars in front of you on cruise control and that. And if you go back a couple episodes of No Driving Gloves, Derek and I kind of talked about our likes and dislikes of that system. But other than, those limited things, maybe light steering, speed control, I'm going to say auto braking in that, you're controlling all other aspects of driving. You have full responsibility for monitoring the road and taking over if the system fails to act appropriately, I guess is the word. Like I say, adaptive cruise control is probably one of the best examples. My Fusion that I had collision alert, which really isn't autonomous. It would beep and scream and everything, but it wouldn't brake itself. Some cars do. My Mini has a little red light, and I'm not sure if it does brake itself or not. I've never really pushed it, and the dealer was kind of vague when I bought it. I do not believe it has auto braking, but they do have assistance there. And I think one of the reasons they don't, a lot of manufacturers aren't doing auto braking as Volkswagen advertises that it can stop an emergency situation. I believe Bentley can do it, which is obviously a Volkswagen company. I'm sure there's other cars can do it. I don't drive everything that's out there, and I'll be honest, I can't stay up to date on everything. But, I think auto braking falls in that. Level 2 gets you into partial automation. And this is about where I think everybody's at right now with their most advanced technology. At this point, you can steer, accelerate, and brake in circumstances. The driver has to respond to traffic, emergency situations, has to watch out for hazards, has to instigate lane changes, and you, again, usually have to keep a hand on the wheel. And again, really good examples of this is Cadillac Super Cruise. Nissan has the Pro Pilot. What's Audi? Audi has one, which of course trickles down through Volkswagen and up to Bentley. Traffic assist might be traffic jam assist. I think that if you're driving an Audi, let us know. Volvo has an assist also that's similar to that. I think Ford does. And I honestly think this is about where Tesla's autopilot is. We're at level 2, so we're halfway through the progression. Tesla and Musk discussed that they probably are a little bit beyond. Level 3 is conditional automation. The vehicle can, in the right circumstances, manage most aspects of driving, including monitoring for safety hazards, doing lane changes, monitoring speed, steering the vehicle, going around corners. But the system will request the driver to intervene or take over if something happens where the car loses its ability or can't process quick enough. It confuses the computers on board, whether it be a crazy lane change by some other member of traffic, whether it be a deer running out into the road and the car doesn't detect it. Whether it be, I want to say, a panic stop in the rain or low visibility where the car, you still have to pay attention and still be there. And that could be where Tesla's autopilot is advanced to by now. But the driver still has to be attentive. You can't watch a movie. You can't go to sleep. And we all know drivers are watching movies and going to sleep in Teslas. There's videos out there showing them do it. There's people out there claiming they do it. But what do I want to say? I think well, we'll slide on to level 4, which is high automation. A steering wheel and pedal still remain in the car, which, again, with Tesla and autopilot, we still have steering wheel and pedals. But again, on the Model S, they introduced this not joystick, but yoke, kind of like you have in an airplane, not a round steering wheel, basically the Knight Rider steering wheel, because it reduces what's in front of you when you're driving. And they're trying, Tesla really wants to remove the steering wheel and the pedals from the car because Musk thinks they're there. But even though you have steering wheel and pedals at level 4, the human doesn't have to provide any input other than telling you where it wants to go. And under heavy traffic conditions, maybe weather conditions, maybe like mountainous driving. I doubt if it wants to drive itself off Pikes Peak. Maybe we'll go back and talk to Randy Probst, who we interviewed about 2 years ago on the show, and as actually a driver for Tesla now. But basically, the driver does everything with the car, or driver does nothing with the car except maybe on your congested surface street, driving downtown New York City, driving downtown places with a lot of traffic, and that the human has to actually guide the car. There's a few cars out there from various manufacturers being tested as the level 4 car. And level 5, our highest level, the 6th, the top version of autonomous driving, full automation, true driverless. This is, you can get in the car. You can tell the car where to go. You can go to sleep. You can watch a movie. You can crawl in the back seat, do whatever you want, and the car will get you there. Musk said we'd be there by 2020 in the preview that I showed. Throughout the show, or the movie, Elon Musk Crash Course, he discusses 2 years away, 2 years away, 2 years away. And I think even in 2022, we're 2 years away from fully autonomous driving. There is no reason to have a steering wheel of pedals in the car. And like I said, Tesla feels they could start removing these from their car. And all you do is enter a destination and the car gets you there. So go into the movie knowing this and what the 5 levels of autonomous driving are, and listen to the movie and listen to what Musk is saying and listen to what his engineers are saying, because they interview a lot of the engineers. I mean, they interview some of the original investors in Tesla, or the founders of Tesla, actually. They introduce the former presidents and CEOs or CFOs of Tesla. They interview various engineers. They interview a woman that claims she's a test driver for Tesla. I believe she's just in a program that she volunteered to, and they give her a few extra features in the car to test and provide feedback on. Don't know exactly how that program works, whatever, but she doesn't come off as what you think of as a test driver, say the Stig. She comes off more as a, just an everyday housewife mom without any extensive driving knowledge. And, she's supposed to trust the technology they're downloading and test it out in real world scenarios. I don't know if she gets compensated for it. I don't know what happens if the technology fails and she is involved in an accident. Don't have a clue. And I also want to say, I'm not discounting those that have passed away or perished in accidents either caused by a self-driving Tesla, which those rarely get spoken about, or a Tesla actually kills the person operating or maybe the passengers in the car. There's some pretty good analogies in the movie about some of these drivers that have perished. And there's a really good statement from the family of one of the drivers that perished with his Tesla and potentially full autonomous driving. And again, I really encourage you to watch the show, even if you're not a Tesla fan. But I'm going to wrap up this episode fairly quickly, but I'm John and I'm a little bit long-winded. Remember, check out No Driving Gloves, nodrivinggloves.com, nodrivinggloves.com/coffee if you want to contribute a couple of bucks to the show. We've got a lot of format changes coming up in the next couple of weeks, different host guest situation, but No Driving Gloves is here. We're going to keep rolling, and we're going to try to give you a lot more of what you want. So give us some feedback in that. Again, you can reach us anyway, but nodrivinggloves.com will get you to all the links, the emails, social media, ways to subscribe or follow, depending who you're paying attention to there, and all the back catalog. If we've done it on video, it's out there on the video page. If we've done it on audio, it's out there on the audio page. And keep in mind, No Driving Gloves is a audio focused podcast. So I know this video might even be a little bit choppy, but we are audio and we're looking out for our audio listeners. We appreciate you when we are broadcasting live and live streaming. We thank you for what I want to say, watching, listening, being along with us for the ride. But basically, I'm going to sum up now. I was talking the other day, hanging out at the cigar shop, and we got talking about Musk and things. And somebody said, oh, this movie's political. Maybe it's political, but, I don't think all of it's based around politics because, Musk pretty much hadn't declared a party when he introduced the Generation 2 Roadster and the Cybertruck. Those still aren't here. I mean, that's a fact of the matter. Musk hadn't declared when the first fatality started to come about with, autopilot, and when he started talking about autopilot. A lot of what's presented in this movie seems to be fact. But how did we get here? How did Musk get here? How did Musk become CEO of a $1 trillion company, one of 4 or 5 companies that have reached $1 trillion in valuation? Don't know where it is this week. I know stock prices go up and down and that, but keep in mind, most of Musk's money is tied up, or wealth, even though I think he's worth $200 billion today, is tied up in stock. It's not real cash. He can't go to the bank and, pull up with 5 semis and drive away with all his money. It's all tied up, and it's not liquid. It's stocks and bonds and everything else, however he has it invested in various companies, and probably more companies than what we're going to list here. But in 1995, Musk started his entrepreneurship and created a company called Zip2. Zip2 was the simplest way is it was a business and address directory that newspapers could use in that. Basically a primitive search engine. We probably had Alta Vista back then. We had Ask Jeeves, and, we all had our favorite. If you were on the internet and alive back in 95, 96, I think I was still using a web TV unit in 95, 96. But, I really didn't even have a computer. But we all had our favorite search engines. Matter of fact, Google didn't even launch until 1998, 3 years after Zip2 was created. Now in 98, Compaq came along and bought Zip2 for $307 million. I'm not sure what Musk's cut of that was, but I know he got a substantial amount, or I feel he got a substantial amount of money from that one. However, he was ousted as CEO in 1996. So he wasn't there through most of the existence of Zip2. He did not have a leadership role. He probably collected stock dividends and was working on his next endeavor, which ironically, and after Zip2 sold in 99, he started X.com, which was an online bank. And to get customers, they offered, you didn't have to mail checks into them. They offered easy deposit withdrawal through their bank, things like that. I'm not quite sure how it worked. I wasn't a member of X Bank, but they would, if you just opened an account with them, gave them your information, they would deposit $20 into your account. And Musk used the example, just open the account. We'll give you $20 and you can take that. And he broke it down so that you could keep basically $6 still in the account and use the rest to invest in other things. X.com in the year 2000 merged with Confinity and created PayPal. So PayPal came about roughly in 99, 2000. A little vague on exactly when official. I didn't go through and find out the official articles of incorporation or anything. But late 99, 2000, Confinity and X merged and became PayPal. Ironically, Musk was outed as CEO of PayPal in 2000, and PayPal was also named one of the worst business ideas ever in the year 2000. I think we know how all that worked out, because roughly 2 years later, 2002, shortly after PayPal went public, eBay stepped in and bought PayPal for $1.5 billion, which Musk cut of that was $180 million. So he did not get $1.5 billion from the sale, but I mean, no, you can't, sneeze at $180 million. The first thing he did with this $180 million is he almost, ran out of the bank after cashing the check and created SpaceX with an initial investment out of his pocket of $100 million. Musk always wanted to build the rocket, always had this fantasy. So 2002, $100 million to start SpaceX. 2002, Musk also, probably some accountant convinced him, told him this was a good idea. Can't say. Maybe it was out of his own heart. Again, can't say. Elon, I'd love to have you on the show and we talk a little bit about cars and your history, and we'll be nice to you. 2002, the Musk Foundation was created, which is a 501c3 with stated goals that support renewable energy and pediatric research. Kind of an interesting mix, in my opinion. But, renewable energy kind of goes along with Tesla, Solar City, etc., which we'll get to here. And between its formation in 2018, it's the most recent news article I saw on it, they've handed out about $25 million. Ironically, half of that $25 million has gone to OpenAI. We'll talk about OpenAI in a couple of years here. 2004, Musk, with an initial investment of $6.5 million, funded a Series A round for Tesla, and over the next 4 years invested $70 to $80 million, eventually spinning all that into becoming CEO by 2008. Like we said, Tesla was actually founded by two other people in 2003, but when Musk became CEO in 2008, one of them was gone, and a few short years later, the other founder was gone. And the world kind of believes Elon Musk founded Tesla. Not true, but he has obviously aided in the funding, and I'm sure some of his crazy brain has helped with a lot of the crazy ideas they have. I'm sure it was him who said, let's make our car fart. I'm sure it was him who said, let's do this song and dance with the car. Maybe it was an engineer that threw it at him, but the crazy idea is it's Musk. And I think one of the interviews I saw with the original founders of Tesla is when they went in to approach Musk for funding. They had been laughed at and laughed at and laughed at. But when they actually went in to approach him, they're going, we're talking to a guy who right behind him is a glass wall, and he's building his own rocket ship. So we're obviously not the most ridiculous idea that's ever went through his head. So, but now we jump into an 06 with an initial investment of somewhere between $5 and $10 million, and the company actually being founded by Elon Musk's cousin. 2006 brought us Solar City, which, if you really get into, there's been a ton of tax dollars invested into this company. They've created a lot of things, I don't want to say a lot of things over the year, but that's now where we get the power wall, the power something else, the solar roof. But in 06, founded by Musk's cousins with and Musk invested somewhere between $5 and $10 million, which may have been the last of his PayPal money. I don't know. He assisted his cousins, but in another twist, in 2016, Solar City was acquired via Tesla for $2.5 billion in stock. So Musk had one of his companies buy another one of his companies off his cousins for $2.5 billion in stock. So not such a bad deal all around there. And Solar City, the name went away, and it is now known as Tesla Energy. So Solar City is actually now a subsidiary of Tesla. Here's this name that I said we'd talk to about in a few years. So from 2002, when the Musk Foundation was founded, 2015, OpenAI, a nonprofit, it was originally designed for the development of friendly AI, artificial intelligence. And on a kind of off subject, I saw an interview with Musk once, and he was asked about AI and what he felt AI would do. Because lately we now have AI, artificial intelligence, programming other artificial intelligence machines and building other artificial intelligent machines. So welcome to insert your movie here. But Musk's statement was, as AI advances, I just at least hope they're friendly to us. So I kind of have that belief, and it's probably conspiracy theory related in that, but I'm not getting in there. But I do have the belief that we have created our end with AI. AI was originally funded with $1 billion from a group of investors. Musk did resign from OpenAI, and OpenAI still exists, but he resigned in 2018 due to conflicts with the Tesla AI programs, which obviously fall into the full autonomous and other areas there. But 15, he opened OpenAI. 16, he opened Neurolink. This is a company not a lot of people have heard about, but it's a startup. And Musk has a goal with Neuralink, which many neurologists say can't be done. This is a company, and I just read about it in the news yesterday with the Nokia chief talking about 6G will make smartphones obsolete. And a Neuralink was mentioned there because while the Nokia chairman or spokesperson, I think it was their president or chairman, said smartphones would go obsolete. He didn't exactly say what would replace it, but he said we would start having brain implants that would do this. And that's what Neuralink is designed, or a company is doing. They're researching and developing brain interface devices. They have made the statements and have presented that they're making these brain interface devices to aid with the medical community to potentially help repair paralysis, Alzheimer's, lots of motor functions and memory functions. But Pandora's box, maybe open it up, start popping chips in for one or two things, they start popping in for everything else. But either way, Neuralink's there in an ironic twist of fate, kind of following Tesla. They are expected to graduate from testing their products on animals to potential human testing by late 2022, early 2023, which is Tesla testing their full autonomous driving using human beings. Obviously, you didn't have animals that could, laboratory mice aren't going to drive your Tesla Model S around to see how it works. But they're moving on to human testing. So maybe these brain implants and with 6G technology and such aren't that far away. 2016, also, he started the Boring Company, founded with the intention of relieving traffic via underground tunnels. It actually began as a subsidiary of SpaceX, in 2016, but in 2018, it became an independent company. Musk has talked about, and this really makes a lot of sense with Tesla and the pods we've talked about on the show before, has talked about having an underground network of tunnels throughout the U.S., and they would be called the Hyperloop, potentially transporting passengers at up to 200 miles an hour. So quick, rapid transportation that is completely autonomous. Get into a pod and you're there. No current mention of this is on the Boring Company's website. So maybe Musk has backed off a little bit on that 200 mile an hour statement in that. But he has done a couple of tunnels under Los Angeles. He's done a few in Las Vegas, and is actually, the Boring Company is doing this whole series of network tunnels connecting all the hotels on the Strip and that in Las Vegas with these special, really cool tunneling machines that the Boring Company has. Just realized here, this list did not include Starlink, and I can't remember when Starlink was founded. And Starlink is a division of SpaceX. And the idea behind Starlink is to launch a complete network of satellites. When I'm watching some of the new Star Treks, they've got all these hexagonal and pentagon-shaped grids that go over some planets to protect them. I kind of picture that's how these Starlink satellites will be. And the premise is to offer internet to rural areas. It's a satellite internet service. Get a little dish for your yard and stuff. Supposedly eons better than the other satellite internet services we've had in the past. Really a small point to buy into. I've got a couple friends that are actually running their internet on Starlink now that live in the middle of nowhere. Real small buy-in. Supposedly Starlink shipped 5,000 dishes and units to the war zone for aid and relief to help communications there. But basically, Musk is trying to build the internet that is completely dependent on satellites rather than wires, so it can reach all corners of the world. I have read articles that, there's rumors he'd like it to be free for everybody, and I don't know how true those articles are or what they've said, but you can bet there's a few cable companies and telecommunication companies that are going to do their best to prevent Starlink from becoming a free service to anybody who wants it or maybe has the hardware costs. But kind of look at, I guess, DirecTV and Dish. They kind of made a big inroads into the cable companies there. And then, of course, the final feather in Elon Musk's cap maybe is Twitter. And we're going to find out if his deal for Twitter goes through. I really think he will close it personally. He's just making all kinds of little excuses, probably to set some things up. On the flip side, maybe he's discovered that when you got into Twitter, it's really not all it is. And for $40 billion, give or take, he could potentially open up his own Twitter-like company. Or he can buy one of these smaller companies and spin it into something like a Twitter. Because going back to SpaceX is the second most valuable private company, I believe, in the world. The most valuable company is TikTok. Private entity, obviously, not on the stock market or anything. You can't buy stock in them. TikTok is privately owned. Obviously, SpaceX is. They don't have stocks available for them either. But that's a quick summary. Do watch Elon Musk Crash Course. You'll learn a lot about Tesla. You'll learn a lot about the technology he's pushing. You'll learn a little bit about, how he's a dreamer, and I joke he's doing it the Colin Chapman way. Colin Chapman used to develop Lotus cars to a point and then start selling them to the public so they could do the final R&D on them. I don't think he was putting as many lives at potential risk, but Chapman did it, and I'm sure other CEOs and presidents have done it. Presidents of companies, maybe presidents of countries. I don't know. But he's putting this stuff out there. It's there. It's something that I think we need to be aware of. I wanted to go through a little bit of the history of Tesla, how it related and fits back. It's just very interesting thing to follow. This is kind of why I like Tesla, all the moving pieces. It's like a huge game of chess. Half of what Musk is saying is going to come true. Half of it's a pipe dream. And then you find half of that pipe dream actually becomes reality. He's no crazier, I think, than Thomas Edison was, potentially Henry Ford in the day. And he's created the electric car. I mean, yes, they've lasted throughout history, but at no point in history as all of a sudden governments, the European Union, United States government, everybody is pushing to electric car. Now, hydrogen's out there. Synthetic fuels are now out there. It might not be electricity, but it's really hard to look past the signs that say, hey, when you have to have zero emissions and this is what's there and you have to be there in 5 or 6 years. And hydrogen's experimental. I know Cummins just introduced a new diesel engine. I can't remember what it runs on, but it's kind of I want to say a steam principle. I did not read much on it yet. Maybe we'll cover a little bit of that in the next episode of No Driving Gloves. But we're right at the 60-minute mark. Again, nodrivinggloves.com, all the information, all the shows, the ways to reach us, find out everything. We have a page there with a lot of little products that we like. I'm looking forward to, I've got to store my car for a couple of days, and I'm taking the little jump starter that was given to me by a upcoming, I don't want to say sponsor, but we're going to have them on the show. So I'm going to do a little bit of a trial on that. It's a nice, small, compact unit, has wireless charging for your phone, can jumpstart your car, has some USB ports on it, of course, has a flashlight, and it doesn't feel like one of these rinky-dinky things. It's not the cheapest thing in the world, but still a friendly price point for the quality that's there. And we're going to see how it goes over the next couple of weeks as I'm trying that. And we hope to get them on the show. We were really supposed to have them on before Christmas, but as we all know, I had some personal things last year and a move and changing of studios. But again, No Driving Gloves, nodrivinggloves.com. This is John. Again, most of these statements are all on my opinions and thoughts. And hopefully the trailer can remain at the beginning of this video. If not, I'll cut it out, at least for the video and the audio, and we'll just live with this, and you'll just have to go to YouTube to find the trailers, or Hulu.com to watch the New York Times presents Elon Musk's Crash Course, episode 1 of season 2 of this series that the New York Times does on Hulu. But that should be it. We'll talk to everybody next week. I think we're going to have Will on to discuss a little bit of the outcome of his autocross, which I believe was extremely successful. And Autocross 2 registration begins today. Check it out at nodrivinggloves.com/grip. That'll take you to the motorsport.reg page and get registered, because the reviews and the stuff I've seen, the second one's going to sell out fast. We'll talk to everybody, like I said, next week.